In this problem, we're given a radical equation and we are to solve for x. If there's no solution, then we are just to write dne for it does not exist. If there is a solution, we write our answer in both exact form and approximate form to the nearest hundredth. So the idea would be simply to subtract 6 on both sides. Doing so, 6 minus 6 is 0. You could write 0 plus, but we typically do not write that. So what we'd be left with is the cube root of 3x is equal to, and over here you'd have 1 subtract 6, which is negative 5. Now, to undo cube roots, you need to do the inverse of that. So the inverse of taking the cube root of something is to cube it. In fact, the inverse of the nth root is always to raise to the nth power. So if you have the nth root of something and you want to undo that radical and it's the nth root, then you would raise to the nth power. So in this case, my n is 3. So what I'm going to do is take both sides of the equation. Remember that what you do to one side, you do to the other. I'm going to raise to the third power. And what happens then is these two things simplify out. Whenever you take the cube root and you cube it, those are reverse processes. They undo one another, leaving you with the radicand. So whatever is in here, you don't do anything but just copy it. So leaving you what's inside the radical. So what I have over here then would be negative 5 to the third power. Remember that just means that you're multiplying negative 5 by itself 3 times. So you would have a negative times a negative is a positive. Positive times a negative would then give you a final answer that is negative. So whenever you raise a negative to an odd power, it turns out the answer is negative. 5 times 5 would be 25, and then you have that 5, and 25 times 5 is 125. Now, since the 3 is being multiplied by the x, the way to undo multiplication is to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3 and argue that 3 divided by 3 is 1. Negative 125 divided by 3. So to check it real quick, if you want to see that my answer is correct, I would take my original equation, and where I saw the letter x, I'm going to replace it with my proposed solution of negative 125 over 3. And don't forget that there was equals 1 here. So what happens here is because you have multiplication by 3 and division by 3, that simplifies out. 3 divided by 3 is 1. What cube root of negative 125 means, what number do you multiply by itself 3 times so that you get negative 125? It's right here. The answer is negative 5. So you have 3 plus negative 5. And indeed, if you take 6 and you add negative 5, that's the same thing as 6 subtract 5, and you would definitely get 1 out of that. So my answer is correct.